Good morning, people. Good morning. This is Spirit Journey. Today's Thursday, October 13th, 2022, and the time is about 3:23 a.m. Yeah, I woke up over an hour ago, and yeah, I fell asleep early, and yes, I woke up early too. And I watched some videos. Couldn't sleep. I want to talk about um, primarily the last video I was watching about the entertainment business, especially with regard to the music industry and with Black America. I want to just share my thoughts. Hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, I listened to this one YouTuber, uh, religious man, and he was in the entertainment bit. Well, try to get into the entertainment business, and he shared some of his experiences, and he's given like a warning. So he shared on his channel um, video clips of performers, uh, actresses. They had this one um, video was a group of men, black men, like at a barber shop, discussing uh, their thoughts or their experiences with the industry. So primarily the music industry and you know acting, Hollywood. Yeah, they both are neighbors. They work the same way, and many of you have heard performers say that they sold their soul. It's almost like a country song. I sold my soul to the that thing. And yeah, like why they do so, they get enticed. Um, uh, they get enticed about the illusion of what they can get. So the material goods of fame, and it's dressed up real nice. And as we see, um, especially with social media, you're constantly being filmed. Because not everybody has like a cell phone that can take video, computers. It's out there, and the potential making money is really, it just seems even more bigger. This money game. And yeah, with this past pandemic, past 2.5 years, a lot of people lost money. A lot of pain, emotional pain involved. Communities pulled down because companies had to close down because no customers. You weren't allowed to go out. You could, all these restrictions. A lot of it was, in my opinion, artificially um, contrived. Sure, anyone can get a cold, flu, whatever. But it was just more so and more restrictions, and loved ones couldn't be around each other. If they had to go to the hospital, you couldn't get visited. So it was a culture, and a social environment of social decays. And it really messed us over. I live in New York City. And in New York City, I just see, even though the so-called pandemic is almost back to normal, we have the tourists back and everything. But what you see behind, you see a lot of more social decay. You see a lot of garbage on the ground. And you see a lot of homeless, homeless, more, in these big cities, at least in New York City, the homeless that you see primarily are black people. Black people. But they're just even more deranged since this pandemic. It spooks me. It makes me very, very sad. Some people might say, "Oh, well, you're not homeless, so why should you care?" I'm a very sensitive soul. Um, I don't like seeing people suffer. I used to give out, they used to ask, for food, money for food, or some they just say, I'm hungry. So I would buy them, if I didn't have my pets with me, before I had the stroller, I would buy them food. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, I had gotten groped. So now it's like I don't want to deal with the homeless to protect myself. To protect myself. Okay, so it's dangerous for women, especially these young women, and they try to take advantage of your body, your kindness. They take advantage of your good nature. But yet, like some of us are religious or spiritual minded, and you want to do what you think, God or your creator, your spirituality would want, okay? But now it's not safe for you to do so. But either way, I'm kind of diverging a little bit. Um, but still, the industry, there's an industry out there, especially, these past 2.5 years, people, had stayed at home and they're watching a lot of social media, YouTube, and now these other platforms that I'm just learning about. So everybody is like bewitched. They watch. And they're glamorizing industries. Now it's like, black is the new color to watch, to cater to. And what I mean by that, I mean black meaning the black race, Black America. Because before, you didn't see that many black people on television or anything like that. But with this new, social media, you're more exposed now. They're showing, you see more black people, and the what do you call it? The news, like the local news, are now, for whatever reason, showing more black people in media. They show more black people in front of the camera. It's a deluge. So, Bernie, why are you saying like that? A deluge. And negative sense, why are you talking like that? Well, just because you see more of us doesn't mean that we're in better condition. What do you mean? Yeah, everywhere in New York City, since this pandemic, you see black people uh, on billboards, advertisements with, models, people modeling clothes and everything. And you start to think, oh, they must love us. They must love us because now we're in front of the camera. But what do they have us doing? What are we doing? Why is that you see more and more of us in front of the camera, but you see more social decay with us? What's going on? Well, I would say, it's just an opinion, that it's a price to pay. It's like a tit for tat. Okay, you had the George Floyd demise, and then the rioting, and people died. To my understanding, people might have gotten physically hurt or died during these riots regarding Floyd, Aubrey, also. And remember, you had the guy, what do you call it? Central Park Karen at the Ramble, if you remember. Her last name Cooper, Amy Cooper. You had that too. So it put black people in the news with such intensity, but it was a negative energy. Yes, thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Thank you there. But it was to demise it. It's like, it's trauma based. It's a trauma thing. Trauma that, oh wow, you mean if I walk in a park, I could get some Karen or Ken try to frame me and try to set me up to get arrested? So that's negative. Or these rap artists. You notice now, why all of a sudden, all these black performers are dying? Why is that? Or all of a sudden you get kind of cuckoo. All the well, I don't, you just use your imagination. Who out there recently is in the public who did so for like 2 interviews recently the past week, and they changed a little bit, and he was married and now it's divorced. What was going on with that person? And then now that people say, oh, has he gone crazy? Did he go crazy? That singer that I'm referring to, and he sang this song about how he sold his soul to the that creature. And these are people who had gone to church. And even though we might start out in church, and that's where many of us learn how to sing to an audience because of, through your church life, right? And then you get enticed. You get someone crawling over to you, and let's say you live in a challenging neighborhood, and you just want something, a little better in life. Nothing wrong with that. But they don't really tell you that there's fine print on the contract. And they just say, oh, just sign, it's okay. And you sign. And they tell you, now you started out as maybe a gospel singer in church. They know who you are, what type of music you sing. They get you in the music industry, you want to, they promise you a lot of money and fame, but the contract says you can't say the J word, the name of your God. But yet they recruited you because, you know how to sing this type of music. But they don't want you to mention the God that that gave you strength to be able to sing like that, right? They knew what you're about. They know, yeah, people who go to church and you sing songs and you pray to, you praise your God, right? But then in the contract they don't want you to sing about it. So they want your talent, but they don't want what inspired you to be able to sing. It's like denying your parents because they're ashamed of your parents. They like you, but they don't like your parents. They don't like what created you, what made you, what shaped you, what influenced you to be so gifted. You get in, so you sign a contract. And some of these, the YouTuber that I was watching that inspired me to do this video, this live stream, was showing, sharing little clips that's on social media about these black performers. And they're warning us that there's a price to pay. And they said they sold their soul. And they had these two ladies interviewed by this black woman who used to have a television show. And they were crying and they said, look, they did that. They sold their soul. And they regret it. This other YouTuber was mentioning that, like, they get into Hollywood, let's say, and then they want to get married. And then they're told that, they were saying that when they got married, all hell broke loose. And they were saying that Hollywood, or I would imagine also the music industry, they don't want you to get married. They want you, if you get married, they want to set up the arrangements for you to get married. They tell you who to get married. And when I think back about the singer Janet Jackson. Now I remember when Janet Jackson got married the first time. Isn't that how it's supposed to work? You're a young woman. You want a nice beau and have children. Isn't that what the society says? You come of age, and you meet the right person, and you fall in love, and you get married, and you have children. Remember with Janet Jackson? Remember now she was of age. She was of age, marriageable age. And they forced her to get an annulment. An annulment. Why? Getting married is a natural thing. It's a natural thing for a young woman, young man to fall in love, right? To fall in love with that special someone and get married. What is it of anybody else's business if you get married or not? What is their business? Well, why is it in the entertainment industry, why does it seem to make a difference? Why? Well, one thing, when you get married, then that person, hopefully if they really love you, if they see that you're being exploited, they will speak out and say, hey, that looks suspicious, what they want you to do. Hey, they're exploiting you. See, they want to control you. And when you have a spouse, that spouse is there, and they don't have, the industry doesn't have as much control over you unless that spouse was selected for you to follow the program, right? To follow the program. Look at Britney Spears. Now she is not a black woman, but she is from the South. She is from Louisiana, I found out, right? And what did now her parents were separated when she was a young child. And then when she got, what was that? She got selected for, I think when she was bridging from like the Disney thing into the music, getting a music contract. That's when her father kicked in and started controlling. And we all saw what happened a couple of years ago, the Free Britney. And when you heard her story in court from her own words. Now, I remember with Britney Spears, like around, was that 2005 or 6 or something? She was in the media and they tried to make her look crazy and everything. Remember all that drama? And then they showed something like she shaved her hair off. That's the early Britney that I was introduced to on social media. Okay. Remember how they tried to make her look, and then fast forward, she had that. She went to court to get independence from her family. She's a grown woman and had children. Removed the children from her, and it's like a wake call. So it's not just black people; it's anyone that they could take advantage of. And I guess Britney was used to influence the young white girls, but black music now seems to have a new power structure in America. This new power structure, like for back in the day, in the 1970s, 80s, it was what do you call it, rock music, or what they call rock music. Was the king of music styles, the publicized music. Now it's what they call rap or hip hop took its place, and so who usually plays that kind of music? Black people. But they're utilizing black people in their music form to influence people and to control people. And it's to produce a negative energy. Yes, in rock music also. But it seems like now the hip hop, it just went to another degree, another level of more social decay, in my opinion. They were both bad, but now it's like it's exploiting it. Now, I never heard growing up in the 1970s rock stars. What did you say? You never heard them killing each other of turf, never. But you will hear that they trashed their hotel room, or they had an overdose. But not even near to the extent like they have with the rap, hip hop culture, music culture scene, and these turfs and them actually shooting each other dead. I've never heard that with the rock and roll music. Never. It's gone to another perversion level. And so I live in New York City. I live right here in New York City. I love New York City. But I don't like the social decay. I don't like when I walk around, I see a bunch of deranged black men primarily. You see mostly, the homeless that you see in New York City are overwhelmingly black men. You do have black women, but it's overwhelmingly black men that you see on the street. And now you're even seeing in New York City white men, young white men that are homeless. You see them around, the same people for a couple of weeks, and then they disappear. I don't know where they go to. But when you look at them, they look even more spookier. Oh yeah, they look very, very spooky. The music, I think the music industry is really being used as a weapon. See, what they're attacking is your mind. Your mind is what they are attacking. They're affecting the way you think. And what they want you to think is self-destruction. They want you to think self-destruction and to dislike yourself and to destroy yourself. So they're teaching black men primarily to distress one another and to kill each other. They're also causing the black man to doubt his identity and to actually turn him out to act like a woman. Go to New York City and walk around in the big cities, in New York City, and you see them. I'm not over exaggerating. You don't see like regular black men walking in dignity, dressed nicely, going to a nice job. You see the down and out. You see the drug dealers. You don't see just young men, just professional young black men enjoying themselves, let's say at a cafe or something like that. If you do see a black man at a cafe or something, they're usually of the alphabet soup community. And that is a growing community also in New York City. If you see a black man living in a nice apartment building, they're usually of the alphabet soup community. And they only deal with alphabet supers. Let's call them supers for short. So the supers have a network going. They hire their own. They party with each other. And they have such a network, and they're able to somehow get into these high-rise buildings to live in. But if you're a regular black man, you don't get into buildings like that. You get into maybe those brownstones that are all, kind of messed up, extremely high crime. That you see us in. Why is that? Well, like the music industry or Hollywood, they promote who they want to promote. And in my opinion, what they're communicating to me, how I interpret what I see, is that they're telling Black America, we will reward you. I hope you can hear me. Let me, press one for yes if you could hear me, if I'm speaking clearly. That they are saying, we will reward you if you behave or act in a certain way. And so we want to promote that lifestyle for you. But for the alpha black male with a wife, a black woman, wife, and black children, we don't want that. We will not promote black family. We will not showcase the traditional black family anymore. And so if you're an alpha male who knows that they are male, a black woman that knows that she is a woman, and a child that respects their parents. You don't see them living in these type of buildings, these apartments. I've been living in the building that I'm in now going on 20 years. And I have not seen any black families, a man, woman, and child. I have seen women with their children, but there are not that many in this building. They just have that bend to them, And so so you're disconnected. I feel like I'm being disconnected from my own community. And I live in a major city, New York City, where you have black people. But you don't see them in family units here in Manhattan. But what you see a growing number are homelessness, transvestites / men wearing women's clothing, but they're not in their right mind. See, it's often that they're drug induced. These people, these black gay men, are under drugs. They're under the influence. And they wear these weird wigs and they walk funny. It's everything. They're not in the right mind, people. Now, again, one's orientation is their business. Okay? That is their business. Some people have that lifestyle by choice. That's their business. But I'm talking about when they're out of their minds and you see them parade around the street, are out of their mind. And I'm wondering what in the world happened to these people. They probably sold their soul. They were around the wrong crowd. See, I remember growing up in the 1970s and 80s. Yeah, I wasn't popular. I was just a regular person. But I always saw them. I always watched them. I said, I don't want to be them. That's what I say in the back of my mind. I don't want to be these people. They thought that they were real cool. They had all the latest clothes. Back in those days it was sneakers. The Pro-Kid sneakers was the thing. That was the thing. If you were somebody, if you had those type of sneakers, and I come from a large family, and we couldn't afford that. I wore the cheap, what they call the skippies. But they thought the world was everything had to do with trying to convince people that you were somebody. So they wore that back then. The type of shoes you wore, footgear, and even still now they push. You notice the stores that you see in New York City that promote these sneakers. Who goes in those sneaker stores? Who primarily, and sometimes they have a line outside. a long line outside to enter those sneaker stores. Who primarily excuse me, who primarily goes in those sneaker stores? Black people, Afro-Latinos. So you're from the islands, you're from the Caribbean, or you're a Black American type. Okay, that demographics. The people who live in what they call the ghetto. You very rarely see white people or Asians at these sneaker stores and wait for hours to go and buy sneakers. Okay? Wow, it's getting hot all of a sudden. Boy, I'm burning up right now. Wow. All of a sudden, just burning up. So yeah, let me get these covers off of me. Oh, wow, it just got burning up all of a sudden. So, what's happening? See, I think everything is interconnected. I think everything is interconnected with this, whether it's like, because with the, we call the hip hop and rap music, don't they wear those sneakers and stuff? You want to dress like your favorite celebrities, your video celebrity, and so you want to wear what they wear, and it's a whole market. It's a whole market for hip hop wear. And the primary people that buy this stuff are Black people. Yet people are concerned about when it's time to vote, and that if you want to promote ID, voter ID, you're trying to do what they did in the South and make it impossible to vote. No, it's to protect you. Because see, if you get people from outside who aren't legally able to vote, or you get someone who's not lawfully in the U.S., and they get access to a special ID because of trickery, they could influence the vote. And in fact, the illegals technically could get the power to be able to vote, yet they're here illegally, and they can overthrow your community, Black people or white people, or any demographics that is here legally or was born here. They can get in, get the ID, the false ID, and vote you out, vote your own people out of office. But no, you're not thinking. You see, they want you to think about the old days in the South and the Jim Crow laws. Well, it's not Jim Crow, and many of us aren't in the South. You think the North loves you anymore? What about the West Coast, the East Coast? You're dealing with New America, with all types of people. It's Black and white people are not the only groups in this country. You have many, many groups. Many groups. But again, everything is connected to everything else. So whether it's voting, it's about influencing your world. What's going to impact you, and definitely voting, and influencing how to vote. Oh, don't vote for so-and-so because they're racist. And what they're doing is trying to trick you to vote for a candidate that is actually despises you, like the current administration. In my opinion, it's my opinion. See, the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes your best friend tells you things, could tell you the truth, and that truth hurts. And the prior administration, yeah, you didn't like how he said it, but he's been around for 40 years, and a lot of Black New York liked him, and they hung out with that prior administration because of his brashness. Remember that? Those hoppers liked him, but then they twisted it and said he's a racist. But yet you all hung out with him, and then um, they tricked and they stole their way in. In my opinion, they stole their way into the current administration. And now this current administration, this guy is out of his mind. He is not. He's not fit for office. He's not fit for office. Don't you think they knew that about him? Don't you think they knew that about him? They wanted him in because they could control him. They couldn't control the other one. They couldn't control the other one. And so they had to steal the election and put in that other person. And he's out of his mind. And so how did this current administration, how did the Black family, what was the outcome? Well, the outcome was more unemployment, more drug use, more anything negative. And now you still see, like, again, getting back with the industry, see, everything's related, whether it's the music industry, Hollywood, or the White House. They're all interconnected because it's all about controlling the masses. And this music is being used to influence the minds of America. The hip hop music is very intense. And people need more and more to get a buzz. People require more intensity to just feel comfortable. And Black music does it. It is very intense, the types of beats, the way they talk. Everything is more intense because these are intense days. And so you have a group in America that is on fire. And by design, in my opinion, by design this is done. By design, they have you live in what they call the ghetto. And it's designed to either make you or break you. So it's designed to, because it's a form of what they call MK Ultra. It's a form of MK Ultra to traumatize you. And if you survive the traumatization, then they could use you. What do they use you for? They use you for music, the music industry. They use you for sports. So each time you're performing, I know that I'm seeing a correlation. Both of those type of occupations is something that you are having people watch you. You are being watched. You're a sports athlete. Someone's watching you run. Someone's watching you dribble the ball. Someone's watching you tackle someone. It's what you have to do with your body to entertain somebody else. Or acting, and now they're getting more Black actors. So again, you are performing. you are being watched. Music, you're a musician, you are being watched. So you are there to perform, to do for an audience, rather than, like, let's say an office job, like let's say you're a lawyer or a teacher. You're interacting with people. To do those jobs, you're interacting with people to get something done, which is different. And they're not putting you in those positions. See, that type of position, you have some type of say of what you project. Let's say you're a doctor, you affect change something else. You have potentially to set policies and procedures. They don't want you to have any policy or procedure. They want you like a robot. Yeah, and they'll pay you as a robot. They'll pay you to be the robot. They don't want you to they don't want you to get paid for thinking. They don't want you to implement policies or procedures. That's out. And they want to think for you. So again, those people who survive the traumatization, who get in the music industry, you have people. Did you know black people, or even white people? I'm sure it happens to them too, or Hispanic people in America. Um, did you know that your church gets infiltrated? Did you know that some of these black churches, I mean really black churches, are being, sometimes they're owned by white people? You say, what are you talking about, Spirit Journey? Please elaborate. Let me elaborate. Many years ago, I mean, I've been in this building now almost 20 years, and this happened when I was new in the new within the first 3 years that I lived in this building. I had visited a church in New York City. It was a area, but on the end, it was in it was some part of Harlem, East. Yes, it was East Harlem, right on the boundary where you have um, blacks and then the Hispanic community, and primarily the Hispanic community out there on the East Harlem. Uh, People from Puerto Rico ancestry, or the Dominican Republic. The larger groups. That demographics. So this was right on the border, but it was in Harlem, the east part, East Harlem, and it was a small church. You had how many adults there now? Let me think back. No more than 5 adults there. And then you had the co-pastor's children, little children. Um, the pastor, the lead pastor, had one adult son. The son was about my age at the time. He was like in his 30s. No, but late 30s, 40s at that time. And then it was me. Okay, that's the church. That's the whole church. Um, the building was relatively old. It was a unique shape. It was made out of wood, and it was an interesting shape. The church. I think it looked like a boat, or something like that. It was something unique. But anyway, one day at the church, um, there were these two white men. Looked real out of place. These looked like there was an older guy. Let's see, so this is almost 20 years ago. So the older guy, oh, could have been around the same, yeah. Yes, the pastor at that time, he was 65, if I remember right. Yeah, so the other guy could have been around the same age. Yeah, yeah, they're about the same age. And then there was a younger guy who could have been in the 30s or 40s. And they sat at the very, very front. Yeah, I sat in the very front too. They were sitting right next to me. And it kind of stood out. And then the pastor, he's up in the front speaking, and then he starts to get angry and he's yelling using coarse words, but directing it to the two white guys. I don't remember the exact thing he was saying, but he felt disempowered. I remember that sentiment was being projected. And they just sat there like it was nothing. They didn't say anything, they were just smiling and absolutely nothing. They never said one word, while he was speaking. But you can tell that there was something wrong. It was like, it's like his handlers were there. They had the young guy, I guess, to indoctrinate him, the young white guy, being mentored by the older one to teach him what to do, how to handle these people. They were in charge of him. See, the guy in a prior service, he shared with me his testimony. Yeah, he's a black man from the ghetto. And he wasn't going anywhere. And someone approached him one day. These white people approached him one day. They said, "We'll finance you to go to school, go to Bible school. Either you stay here on the streets and you can die, or you could become a minister, and we'll finance your college." They sent him, for whatever reason, they sent him to Puerto Rico in the Caribbean to get his education, to become a minister. Now, why they couldn't send him to any school in the U.S.? The guy wasn't Hispanic. He's a guy of Southern ancestry, a real heavy Black American accent. If I can say it like that. And yes, I'm a black woman. But anyway, um, I hope I'm making sense, people. I'm trying to tie everything in. They might seem unrelated, but they're all interconnected. It's a network of control over us, even where we go to church. So anyway, they paid for everything, and he didn't even know Spanish. So when he was there in Puerto Rico, he had to learn Spanish. He graduates, and they set him up in the church. Well, what I realized, um, oh, I remember something else. See, he took his work seriously, and he wanted to make a difference, I think, to the black community or anyone who goes to his church. And I think it was one of the first sermons he gave. This is early in his career in this specific church building. He said to his congregation that it's not going to be any fornication, having children out of wedlock in his church. So don't even try it. Basically, that's what he said. He does not promote that, and he's calling it out. Don't think that you could be a member of this church and live any which way. And you know what happened? They stopped coming to church. Yeah, he said it right up front, and so I admire him for that, because he stood by what he believed in, even at the cost of losing his church members. They all left, and the only people that were left were the old people. And what was there was only about 5 adults, and they were elderly people in the 70s, 80s that were there. And then they had um, the pastor's children, I mean, the co pastor's children. They're very, very young. Um, they had, oh, I almost forgot, they had this neighbor's children. So there were five, maybe 5 kids. Yeah, they were next door neighbor to the church. And the mother of those kids were a crack addict. And they asked the mom, is it okay that the kids come to the church there? And she says, okay. So they were there. But outside of that's it. That was it. And so here, you got maybe 5 adults, the co-pastor's little kids, and then those neighbors. And I think that was 5 little kids. They were under the age of 10. And this was a church. And I was there. Yeah, he offered a computer school to learn basic computers. Yeah, this guy was for real. This guy was the real deal. Yeah, so he had an annex to the church that had computers, and he taught, and I took advantage of that, and I utilized his course, and he got a little certificate. Yeah, it was there. Yeah, I wish I could remember where it was. Yeah, this was about 17 years ago. Yeah, I wish I could remember his name, where the church was, the one how he's doing, and whatever happened to his church. Yeah, I stopped going. Um, it 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 just it wasn't sitting right with me after a while. I think when I saw those 2 handlers of him at the church, and there was some other thing. I said, this is not for me. Um, a lot of some hypocrisy, something just didn't sit right with me. Um, but he meant well. Um, yeah, even though he had this church for many many years, yeah, the church, yeah, he's been there for a while, and but he was under control. And when they came to visit, they came for a reason. And he knew what the reason was. And that's why he was yelling. So it wasn't a sermon. He was yelling at them. And they just stood there real quiet. Never, the lead guy, the older guy, never said a word. Never, just sat there. He was a big guy, too. Yeah. He knew he had authority over him. And he didn't like it. The pastor didn't like it. It was a new phenomenon for me. Yeah, it was a new phenomenon for me. Yeah, I was back in New York for just a couple of years because I was away for a while, and so I was still getting acclimated with everything. I thought I would be able to find a nice black community, a nice black church to go to for fellowship, um, socialization, all that. And it was hard to find. It was hard to find something that really made sense to me. You know, yeah, they're all compromised, I think, and especially that small church. So they're there. You have outsiders who infiltrate the black community, and they may offer you positions, just as you may have people in the music industry, want to offer you a job, become a performer, a singer, or an actress. They come to you, and they make it, they make it sound like they're helping you, but they're helping themselves because they're going to use you for their purpose. And that black pastor knew it but couldn't get out. There's a price to pay. Be careful. So I'm sharing this because be careful, even in the church. They might say, "Oh, you're from the ghetto, but we can help you. We'll even pay for your college." Well, there's a cost that you have to pay, and you can never pay the debt. You can never pay them off, and they know it. Never pay them off because they own you. They own you. They own these pastors in these black churches. So don't you think that they could also control you? You know what I think? What I think? They want to know. I have a feeling that they want to find out who's in that church and what. I mean, why they didn't close down the church? Just little kids. The pastor's kids, and she has her head on tight. She was a smart lady. Yeah, and she had her story too. She shared her testimony. Um, yeah, she was a little younger than me, and she used to be the lady of the night. Yeah, said it openly in front of the congregation, and much of that congregation are her own children. She said it open in front of her kids, her little kids, what she used to do to make money. Um, but for like, I mean, I guess you can, could control children. You want to find out what the children are all about, I guess, and then you can steer them in the way that they want them to become. Yeah, you have outsiders, and they may even contribute money to your church, but then they control you. They control you, and that's not right. That is not right to um, do something, make make those other people think that you're doing it out of, oh, you just want to help society. No, they want to influence your community, your black community, or your Hispanic community, or any community. They're there to control you. Just like the music industry or acting, the Hollywood. They're getting you to compromise. They're getting people in Hollywood, the men. You notice they target the men to dress like women? But you notice they don't really show women dressing like men. I mean, they show them kind of act, with black women. They show the black woman kind of look like a masculine energy. And yeah, I do notice that. You notice you hear the expression that the strong black woman. How can you never hear a strong black man? Well, because they're inverting the logic. It's a strong man and a graceful or beautiful woman. They're inverting it. They're making the woman into the man. And just look at the new characters that they want to promote for the black woman. There was a movie. I didn't watch it, but it's a movie. Was that the king woman or something with the word king in it, but it's a woman, and they showed a very alpha black she woman, a she man. I heard it was a flop. See, people are starting to see through it. There's nothing wrong of a confident black woman, but there's an undertone. There's an undertone. It's nothing wrong about being confident, assertive, intelligent, but they're taking away the natural femininity of women and making it into a masculine energy. And see, if you see the guise is, oh, we just want to show a positive image of a woman, of a black woman. Well, that's not positive when you have to make her look like a man. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why? And you're falling for it. It's not a compliment when they say they're a strong black woman. What they're saying is you are a man. I don't want to be a man. I'm not a man, and I don't want to look like one. Uh-uh. Your real power, ladies, is your femininity. Your feminine charms is your strength. Yeah. Not how much muscle, not nothing wrong of lifting weights to be, to promote strong bones because you don't want to fall one day and break your bones. There's nothing wrong with being healthy. But it's not about health. It's about imagery to pull away the woman to make her think now she is a man. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. The real strength is a woman and her man. The real strength is the woman with her man. And the expression of that love in that couple, that expression between the man and the woman, are their children. And when those children replicate themselves and they find their partners and so on and so on, continuity is a power. The continuity of whatever nationality or race you want to consider yourself. That is the power. But see, they don't want you to reproduce. They don't want you to reproduce. They don't want you to reproduce. They want you to do an inversion, create the man to become a woman and the woman to become a man, gender fluidity, and then they'll pay you to act like such. So now the man can work in a jewelry store. The woman, they put in maybe a political position, politics, you know. Oh, that you could become a principal of a high school or junior high school. Yeah, they're putting women in the roles, the management roles, but they will not put a man in the management role. Look at that in the school system. Look at it. You had blacks in New York in the old day who were teachers, who were professionals in the school system, but they didn't want many blacks in the school system. But now you're slowly seeing women, but they will not put men in it. They will not put straight black men. They'll put the woman in there, and a lot of these women are sorority people, and they're doing the plan of those sororities. Those sororities, even if it's a so-called black sorority organization, they are about the system. They're not about the black community. Let me just tell you that. They're not about the black community. And they're being, I think, being used as spies in the black community, and are shaping our children to become part of the system rather than breaking out of the system and to become self thinkers. They don't want you to think for yourself. And I think they are being used to turn the black boys into girls. You have these new black women who are angry at men. They're being taught to hate men and to emasculate him. And then they're trying to assert the black female, making her more masculine. How is that going to promote family, people? See, it's designed so that you don't reproduce after your own, and that they'll pay you or reward you with a job in the music industry, or maybe a role in Hollywood and you compromise. Look at the type of roles they have in Hollywood. You know, it is a slave system. It's a new form of slavery, in my opinion. And what I think is really phony, what I hear within the black community that I'm a part of, you have some blacks on social media who criticize the blacks of yesterday, yesterday's role models, who had to go through a lot of stuff, we call it Jim Crow, all that stuff in America, and they call them sellouts and Uncle Toms. Well, people, well, let's take a look now to the present. Now you're comparing people of yesterday, black leaders from yesterday, and some of them died trying to get freedom. And they call them sellouts because they wanted, they wanted to promote family, right? And they took that as a weakness. They took being able to think and reason as a weakness. But look at today. Aren't today's people sellouts? Aren't today's black leaders sellouts? These rap singers, what are they? Aren't they sellout when they teach hatred about their own kind? When they use the N-word, isn't that a sellout, people? When they use the N-word? Promoting and teaching this hate talk, and then they get mad when a white or an Asian person call them that. You call yourself that, right? Or black on black crime. You are a sellout when you do that. But see, this is destructive energy. So they mistook um, being violent as being a leader or manhood. They got it totally backwards. When you go to college, these people were college graduates in the past. They went to school. They valued education. And this modern generation is saying, oh, those are sellouts because they speak a certain type of English. Really foolish. So now they have these people speak any which way, dress without dignity. They have their pants down, showing their underwear. This is totally unacceptable, in my opinion. And that's being a sellout. You think just looking tough is macho? It's not macho. And it's destructive. See, they invert the truth. The real sellout is today's black leaders. The real sellouts are today's black leaders. And a lot of these performers are sellouts because they are actually being used as the demise of the black community and this country as a whole. It's going down the tubes, but they want to show like people like Obama. See, you praise Obama because see, the system praises Obama, but he's a sellout. He's all for the soupy community. See that? Remember that Joan Rivers? What happened to Joan Rivers? Joan Rivers was sharing something that she thought was common knowledge. Joan Rivers said what she said because she thought it was common knowledge, and it cost her her life. Be careful when you are well liked in the black community. Be careful when you're really, really liked in the black community, when you're held up. It's because your handler put you up there. Your handler put you up there. You heard nothing about Obama. When Obama was growing up, you heard nothing about him. He was not part of the black community. He only was introduced to the general black community when he reached the age 27. And that's when he met Michelle Obama, his future wife. See, again, they were put together by the system. They were put together by their handlers. Their handlers arranged that marriage. Their handlers arranged that first meeting of the job that they would get. They worked together. They were brought there together. I mean, she was there first. And then he was brought in, and this was in Chicago. Their handlers had them all, it was all arranged. And it was all arranged that he was gonna get into, become senator. No one ever heard of him. And yes, they had him in a church to get his credibility so that other black people would know him. He wasn't around. He wasn't a part of the community. They placed him in that church so he could get connected with other black people. Hooked him up with a so-called woman, and then put him in the Senate seat. He wasn't even in for 2 years, and he was running for president. Don't you realize what's going on? A handler handled him, and you don't hear him now addressing the black community. He can be a leader in the black community still. In helping us. See, it's not about helping us. It's about the agenda. It's about the greater agenda that's actually against this whole planet, against this whole country. And they're using it against us. And now some of these singers, like that singer that people are calling kind of crazy, and he had this fashion show. I don't want to use his name. You'll know what I'm talking about. He had that fashion show in Paris, and he had the T-shirts, White Lives Matter. You think that's really important, people, to really fight about? And now they're trying to get these two rappers against each other, but just a couple of weeks ago they were seen together and they were friends, or looked like they were friendly. And now they're trying to create a turf war between them. People, you're falling for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for the hype. Don't fall for the hype. That's not something to fight about. Fight about that your community is being destroyed, that there's no industry in your community, and it's being now flooded by new immigrants. And no, this is not an anti-immigrant rant. If you're here legally, hey, no problem. But when you're getting people who are not lawfully here, and then they're trying to set up a system to allow illegal aliens to vote in the presidency, that is a problem. And that could be used to really overthrow black leadership in the black community. And you don't see it. You don't see what's ahead. You're thinking that everything that could be used actually to protect you. See, they have you brainwashed to think of the past. You think this is 100 years ago in the Deep South. This is 2022. This is 2022, not 100 years ago. not even 80 years ago. This is now, and you're dealing with new demographics. And these new demographics are now the new minority, and they have uprooted you. And they're bringing in stores in your community, and they don't respect you. And you tolerate it rather than doing something about it. This is not about doing violence. Do no harm. Do no harm to anyone physically. But use it as a wake up call to strategize how to form your own stores, your own grocery. There's no black grocery stores. You know, in the Americas, black people did the gardening, did all the food. And here today, we lost that skill. See, we were taught, oh, it's not glamorous to learn how to do gardening because my ancestors were slaves. Well, so what? They were slaves. It happened. Slavery is nothing new. But you should at least know their skills to produce your own food. Produce it for you, like Bill Gates. He and someone else is buying up a lot of the land in America, and what's he going to do? He's probably going to use it against you. He's going to force you to eat his food, his Frankenstein food, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. We don't know how to make our own food, grow our own food, because we don't want to break our fingernails. See, you notice now a lot of these black women, Hispanic women from the Caribbean, they wear these dragon nails. Now, I know, you want to feel feminine with the hands. Yeah, I love beautiful hands. And I used to do nails too. But see, how you're going to get your hand in the trenches, gardening with those dragon nails on. I mean, it could be done. I mean, it might be difficult. But see, they're having you focus on your looks, your nails, and your hair. Yes, they're important. To be well groomed is important. But they're pulling you away from how to do for yourself. I mean, one thing that you do your own hair, that you do your own hair weaves or whatever, that's one thing. But you're not even doing it yourself. You're having people from outside the country usually. Usually the people who are doing it are not even from the States. They're not even American. And you bring it, you're giving them your money. It's not going in your community. It's going somewhere else, and they know this, and they're promoting this, and so they will breed you out. So everybody else will have the new minority will have your job. They will have the vote, and then you're just going to be what you call a zombie of New York City. You're going to walk around like these zombies here, jobless, homeless, out of your mind, and they're going to watch you. They watch you, and they laugh at you, and you tolerate it, and you're more focused on a t-shirt rather than the real social decay that's going on in front of you. You can't even get an American doctor, a black American doctor. When I grew up, I had a black dentist. He was a very light-skinned guy, but he was a black man still. And I had a doctor, a baby doctor. He was a black man and American. You don't see that now. The blacks that you do see, they are from other countries. You have the new doctors coming from parts of the world where maybe they don't respect women. I went to a doctor, And I asked the doctor, excuse me, but could you put on gloves? See, he had his bare hand. He was on the phone and on the keyboard, and then he comes and he wants to do a physical exam with his bare hands, and his bare hands were near my private parts. So I just said really nicely, excuse me, sir, doctor, could you please put on gloves? And he got angry and he tried to rough me up. No, not that he tried. He roughed me up and started to physically hurt me. I kid you not, people. These new people, these new so-called minority, protected minority, are now your doctors, and they don't respect you. They could be darker than you, and they don't like you. Your mental health providers, we need it, people. Your new mental health providers are also people from other countries, but they don't really respect you. In their culture, some of them that women are beneath them. They have a caste system, and if you're not perceived as being from their caste, they don't like you. I'm just being real. It's okay to be from any country. If you're of that culture, and if you agree with that culture, so then no problem. But when you're not from that particular culture, and these people are being pumped into your community, it could be a problem when to get service and to get service with fairness. They see you as beneath them. That is my experience. So you have a music industry, and blacks are being compromised who are in the industry to do things, to dress as women if you're a man, to do to promote drugs, to promote gun violence. These are the new Uncle Toms. See, they think they're cool, but they're not. They are I'm not going to use that word Uncle Tom. I know I just said it. Because I did read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. And did you know Uncle Tom was a pious man? He was a slave. Yes, this is it's a fictional book about a slave and what he had to live through, and he was tested at the very end to show his true character, people, and I advise you all to read it. What Uncle Tom does at the end, he was ordered to whip this woman, this slave woman who had escaped. And he said no. How many of these rappers, these rap stars, these musicians, what if someone was to beat up a woman? How many of them would? And how many of them would say, no, I will not do that on my own. I refuse. Well, these guys will join. I feel. Isn't that the real Uncle Tom? How the sentiment that they use it these days. But the true Uncle Tom was a good man. He was a God-fearing man. And when he was ordered by his white oppressor to beat a woman, he refused, and then he was killed. He was killed. But see, the black community probably never read the book. You heard about it, and then you twisted it. You twisted the narrative, and you said, "Oh, well, he's a weak man." Uncle Tom was a strong man. He had to live under the yoke of chattel slavery, and so he didn't have a choice in compliance. But one thing, I mean, to do labor, he was a laborer. the type of job Uncle Tom did in the book. He was what they call a house Negro. He worked in the house. He drove people on the the carriage. He drove people. He made sure the affairs in the house were okay. That's what his job was. And so, he did his job to the fullest. Just like in the Bible. See, people forget about the Bible. People like to romanticize the Bible, just like the Bible. Remember the Hebrew boys, the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? What were they? They were slaves, right? Weren't they slaves in the Bible? They had no say, and they did their administrative tasks to the T. And they said no, the Hebrew boys, when it compromised their religion. They didn't mind doing physical work, but they mind when their religion was being compromised, when they wanted them to compromise their religion, the same as Uncle Tom. But see, you twist around and call Uncle Tom a bad name, like that's a bad name. But anything in the Bible you want to worship. If I were in those days, I want to be like the characters of the Bible. Well, Uncle Tom was modern that that modern man of his time. Yes, he was under bondage. He did his work, but don't compromise his spirituality. How many of these hip hop stars, these actors and actresses out there, how many of them compromise their God? How many? How many of them wear a cross around their neck and then use all these profanity, do things, very lewd gestures with the body, and do things against women, or women do things against. Are they compromising their spirituality for what that guy called a happy meal? Aren't they? Aren't they the real sellouts? I saw on YouTube someone, the guy that's promoting Go Back to Africa stuff, and he has a thumbnail of these sellouts, and he has pictures in history of black leaders, and one of them was a picture of a man, a dark-skinned black man wearing this uniform. It was like a red uniform, I think like what they wore in the 1700s. He could have worked, could have been a slave or a servant in Britain or something, wore that outfit. Yeah, he dressed in dignity. He dressed with dignity. And now they want to call that being a sellout. Would they call Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a sellout? Would they call him a sellout if he was living today? Let's say he was now a 30-year-old man, being the identical person, being the same person, but now just a younger version of him. Would they call him a sellout? Because he has a college degree. He graduated, I guess he would be considered a nerd. Because he graduated at the age of 15. He graduated early from high school. He graduated early. He was some people might call a nerd. See, they got it backwards, people. The real sellouts are those losers that you see on television. Many of them are. And many of them compromise their spirituality / religion for a happy meal. And then when you try to show people that to educate yourself and dress in dignity, they call you a white wannabe. They got it backwards. They got the whole story backwards. And they're actually calling to be black is to be a loser, a criminal. They are the modern sellouts. They are. They compromise their religion, their spirituality for a happy meal, for to show that they got a girlfriend on the those videos. They're not promoting family. They look like prostitutes. These women, prostitutes and pimps. That's what they glamorize, and they have the nerve to call a man from 100 years ago a sellout. These are sellouts. What you see today are modern day sellouts to the black community and to the country as a whole. This is really sad. This is sad, people. And aren't I speaking the truth? I speak the truth. And many of the videos that I do, like when I first started this channel, I remember when I used to when I used in the title accountability, those are the videos that are watched the least because I talk about accountability. They don't want to hear about accountability, so they don't watch it. But anything that shows vulgarity, cruelty, lack of intellect, lack of decorum, they want to promote that. These are the modern day sellouts. And they're, as I said, they're also infiltrating your church. As that story I told you about, the pastor I met about 17 years ago. Yeah, hey, they'll start a church. Hey, I'll finance you. And another man, yeah, they're about the same age. This is around the same time, around 17 years ago. This other black church, he started out small, what we call a storefront church, and he too was approached by a white dude. Hey, we like you, and I want to get a church for you, a big church for you. And you know what else? You know what else? They weren't just white people, if you know what I'm getting at. Yeah, they were from this other religion. And they come in and they want to infiltrate the black community. And they want to control your pastors. Well, that particular pastor, the second one, he said, he was married. He was married. His wife was alive. And they discussed it. Said, no, don't do it. They told him, no, thank you. Praise God. See, that's a leader. He's not a sellout. He might be a lot of other things, but he didn't sell out. And you want a church? Go build your own damn church. Go build your own. Bigger doesn't mean better. Bigger does not mean better. Sometimes something small is good because it could nurture who really needs to be nurtured. It's not what's precious is not numerous. What's really precious, what's rare. Yeah, you want to polish those stones. So rare and beautiful. Yeah, so size does not always denote something that is better or superior. You may want something smaller and quaint because you may be able to get more attention and development, personal development. We need personal development these days. Sometimes big and all the glitter is not all what it's cracked up to be. But they want to entice you with the big and the bold, because see, that's how these outsiders control. They control a lot of black people via the church. And they're getting all these soupies, as I call the soupies, to be your new pastors in the church. And they have their own agenda, the soupy agenda, and to turn out your little boys and little girls. Don't do it. Don't trade it for a Happy Meal. Don't do it, because in the end, you get an upset stomach. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, people. Yeah, the music industry, Hollywood, there's a price to pay. And when they compromise you in the contract where you can't even say the name of your God, you can give other gods' name. Yeah, they said you can say Allah, Buddha, but you can't say other names in their contract. Don't sell out. Don't sell out for money. You can always get money. Get two jobs. So you get, money is a tool. Money is a tool for you. Money, it should not be used as a god. It's a tool to get you where you need to go, to navigate in your life. Okay? So I thank you for, I'm just looking at the time. It's 5 o'clock now. It's just after 5. Yeah. I've been on for a while now. Yeah. I know this was a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And it's important. It's important times. See, they're trying to pull down. It's a global thing. It's not just New York City. This deprecation. It's the whole planet. They want to make us into robots, artificial creatures. Don't sell out. Sorry, running low on battery. Yeah, don't sell yourself out. Try to stay with people of like mind that want to do the right thing. Yeah, don't follow these performers. They're paid to do what they do, and then they get rid of them. And I'm thinking with that singer that did that runway show in Paris just the other week, over the weekend. Um, yeah, pray. Yeah, because what they do, they rise them up, they raise them up, and then they vilify them, make them look crazy, and then they get rid of them. Don't be surprised if something like this happens within this year or next year. That individual, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and they did the same thing with Mariah Carey. I think that's her name, Mariah Carey, the soul singer from the 1990s. You remember her? Yeah, remember that, she married Nick Cannon. Remember what happened a couple of years back when she wanted to leave that company? That's when they vilified her and made her look crazy. Luckily, she got out alive. Luckily, she's lucky. Yeah. Be careful who you pair up with, too, because you could be assigned a handler. You could be assigned, men and women could be assigned a handler. And then you realize you have no control over your life. They control everything. Be aware. Be aware. Test them. Test those people you have in your circle. Are they for you or against you? Do you find that you're starting to compromise yourself, your spirituality, to be around them or to work with them? If you sense that, get out while you can. And read the fine print. Please read the fine print. Okay? So thank you again. I gotta go. Peace, love, and joy to you all. And take care of your health. Yeah, the weather's getting colder here now. Yeah, I have to be careful. The weather is changing, and you can get prone to a cold and flus, things like that. Okay, make sure you get your vitamin C, your zinc. Get prepared. Yeah, I bought my supplies of the zinc, the vitamin C, or etc. Okay, yeah, get prepared for this season. It looks like it's going to be a dark one, a dark spiritually. Okay. Each one teach one. Thank you again for allowing me to do this live stream, and share it with your friends and let me know what you think below. Okay. Take care and enjoy your day. Bye bye.